with me as I express my incredible gratitude to Vice President Kamala Harris for the way in which she brings such a life force and so much joy into our political discourse. We have heard from incredible women tonight, and I am, and we are all fired up to work in the coming days to protect our precious freedoms, to protect all of our freedoms. The U.S. Declaration of Independence speaks in the language of rights, and among others, it affirms our right to pursue our own happiness. The Hebrew Bible speaks in the language of obligations, and it says, Idu et Hashem b'simcha. We have an obligation to serve with gladness. So when people say that Vice President Kamala Harris and Governor Tim Walz have brought the joyfulness back to American politics, we Jewish women know that we are in the right place. In an era in which we have been told that outrage is the only viral emotion, we know that we must be together brave enough, committed enough, confident enough to bring our love and our laughter and joy with us as we go out to defend our rights and to fulfill our obligations. We will hear the call to gladness of the biblical prophets of the past, and we will take our cues from our next president, Kamala Harris, who lets no one stifle her joyful laugh or stand in her self-assured way. We will bring this laughter and this gladness at times and places of our choice. We will choose. We are going to fight hard, and when we win together, we are going to be happy. Together we will win. Thank you all. Good night to everyone.
When it comes to defending Israel and Jewish Americans, Kamala Harris and Tim Walz are united.
I am deeply concerned about what we are seeing in terms of hate and in particular anti-Semitism.
Everyone is welcome and anti-Semitism has no place.
I have been clear. Israel has a right to defend itself.
We stand firmly with the state of Israel.
Democracy, freedom, reproductive rights. Trump threatens them, but Kamala Harris and Tim Walz champion our Jewish American values. Vote Harris-Walz.
Welcome, everyone, to the official kickoff of Jewish Americans for Kamala Harris. We are thrilled that more than 3,000 of you registered to join us today, and we have so many great speakers that are ready to speak with us about why they're supporting Kamala Harris for president. I'm Ron Klein, the founding board chair of the Jewish Democratic Council of America, the political home and voice of Jewish voters, advocating for policies, educating and mobilizing Jewish voters, and electing Democrats who share our core values. One such Democrat, of course, is Vice President Kamala Harris, and we are thrilled that in the past 12 days, Kamala Harris has fundamentally changed the trajectory of this election. We have seen great enthusiasm for her candidacy all over the country, including among Jewish voters, because Vice President Harris shares our views on every key issue that's driving the Jewish vote.
Kamala Harris is diving into one of the stickiest and fraught foreign policy issues of our time, Israel's war against Hamas. The vice president is sitting down with the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu this afternoon, just after his sit down with President Biden. The big question, what stance will Kamala Harris take on Israel, on the war against Hamas? Will she remain in lockstep with Joe Biden's policy, or something different? CNN's Isaac Dover has new reporting, and it's great reporting this morning. Isaac, how big of a test is this for Harris?
Well, it's a huge test. As you say, this has been a pretty consequential week for Kamala Harris in her political life, and no big deal. Next up, she's got to deal with Israel. It's a politically fraught issue. It's an issue that she is under attack for already by some Republicans trying to make an issue out of it. It is something that has divided the Democratic Party for this whole year and will be part of the argument that is going on into November in tight states. And of course, she's also navigating Joe Biden, the incumbent president, whose stance on Israel is very clear and who is not done working on this issue as he tries to get a hostage and ceasefire deal. But it's so much going on that just yesterday, her husband, Doug Emhoff, got on a call of Jewish supporters to talk to them about trying to say what her position is on Israel, since it's such a big question. So let's take a listen to what happened there on that call.
Let me just make this clear. Vice President Harris has been and will be a strong supporter of Israel as a secure, democratic, and Jewish state, and she will always ensure that Israel can defend itself, period. That's who Kamala Harris is.
From defending democracy and abortion rights to combating anti-Semitism and extremism and standing with Israel. We thank you for being here, especially those of you who have recently joined our movement or are joining for the first time. We encourage you to stay involved, be involved, find ways to join us with the work that we do, and join our efforts to elect Democrats, including Vice President Kamala Harris. And with 95 days until Election Day, it's time to get to work. I'm now going to pass it over to our CEO of JDCA, Haley Soifer, who will moderate today's program. Haley?
Thank you, Ron, and welcome to the thousands of you joining us today from around the country. It's a demonstration of the strength of our movement. JDCA is the voice and political home of Jewish voters in support of Democrats who share our values, and we are mobilizing Jewish voters to elect Kamala Harris as the next president.
Jewish Americans stand with Kamala Harris because she stands with us. On Israel, she's clear. I've had an unwavering commitment to the existence of the State of Israel, to its security, and to the people of Israel. On anti-Semitism, Kamala is clear. When Jews are targeted because of their beliefs or identity, that is anti-Semitism, and that is unacceptable. For our values, abortion access, and preserving democracy, the choice is clear. Kamala Harris for
Different groups, women, Black women, white dudes, Swifties, have convened in support of the vice president. Now it's our turn, and we're making our support known with the remarkable number of people on this call, including our speakers, members of Congress, rabbis, celebrities, and all of you. Thank you for showing up. Now it's time to get to work. So over the next hour, you're going to hear from elected officials and other leaders from around the Jewish community and around the country about why they are supporting Kamala Harris for president. But our efforts don't end there. Our work has just begun, and we hope that you'll all be a part of it by joining us in our phone banks, in our text banks, in our canvases, and supporting our work. The links to get involved and to mobilize the Jewish.
So look, we are together. We are running this campaign on behalf of all Americans. From red states to blue states, from the heartland to the coast. And when elected, we will govern on behalf of all Americans. All Americans. So Nevada, ultimately in this election, I believe we each face a question. What kind of country do we want to live in? A country of chaos, fear, and hate? Or a country of freedom, compassion, and rule of law? And the beauty of our democracy. Here's the thing, the beauty of our democracy is we each person has the power. Each person has the power to answer that question. The power is with the people. The power is with the people.
We're here because Jewish voters make a difference in the outcome of elections. This has historically been the case, and it's true today for 3 reasons. First, because our voter turnout rates are higher than the average voter by about 10 to 15%. Second, it's because of where we live in battleground states and swing districts that will decide the majorities in the House and the Senate. And third, because we overwhelmingly support Democrats and are a crucial part of a winning Democratic coalition. And no, Donald Trump, this isn't just out of habit, as he recently said. It's because Democrats align with the vast majority of Jewish voters on every key issue.
There was reporting, at least in the New York Times, that Kamala Harris said she might be open to the idea of a weapons embargo against Israel. I wonder if you can comment on that, what that means, what it might mean.
I'd be against that.
And also on the
That Kamala is in favor of not giving Israel weapons?
Yes, that's reporting.
That's what I hear. Look, she's been very, very bad to Israel, and she's been very bad to Jewish people. And I say it, if anybody I know is Jewish and they would vote for Kamala over me, they should have their head examined. If you think about it, I gave them Golan Heights. I gave them the capital of Israel, Jerusalem. I even built the embassy. I gave them no Iran deal. The problem is they didn't do anything with it. Iran was broke. We could have made a deal so easily. I would have had a deal done within 1 week after the election with Iran. Iran can't have a nuclear weapon. It's very simple. We would have gotten along with Iran. I was looking forward to it. I was fine with Iran. You know, we hit them a couple of times pretty hard, but we would have been fine with Iran. But I terminated that deal. I got them the Abraham Accords. Everyone said that's impossible. I got them the Abraham Accords. She's been very, very bad to Israel, and she's been very bad and disrespectful to Jewish people. And any Jewish person that votes for Kamala and her friend, her new friend, who I don't know if she knew him before, but I don't think he's too good. But any...
And Republicans under Trump represent the antithesis of our values. It's even more true today than ever before, but we can't take anything for granted. The stakes have never been higher in an election, and now we must do everything we can to make sure that we elect Kamala Harris, the next president of the United States. So thanks for being here, and we're going to dive in. I'm going to start by introducing Julie Zebrak, an author, lawyer, and member of JDCA's new leadership council, who spent
Told him that I will always ensure that Israel is able to defend itself, including from Iran and Iran-backed militias such as Hamas and Hezbollah. From when I was a young girl, collecting funds to plant trees for Israel, to my time in the United States Senate and now at the White House, I have had an unwavering commitment to the existence of the State of Israel, to its security, and to the people of Israel. I've said it many times, but it bears repeating. Israel has a right to defend itself, and how it does so matters. Hamas is a brutal terrorist organization. On October 7, Hamas triggered this war when it massacred 1,200 innocent people, including 44 Americans. Hamas has committed horrific acts of sexual violence and took 250 hostages. There are American citizens who remain captive in Gaza. Sagi Deko Hen, Hirsch Goldberg, Poland, Idan Alexander, Keith Siegel, Omer Nutra, and the remains of American citizens Judy Weinstein, Gad Haggai, and Itai Hen are still being held in Gaza. I have met with the families of these American hostages multiple times now, and I've told them each time they are not alone, and I stand with them. And President Biden and I are working every day to bring them home. I also expressed with the Prime Minister my serious concern about the scale of human suffering in Gaza, including the death of far too many innocent civilians.
And I made clear my serious concern about the dire humanitarian situation there, with over 2 million people facing high levels of food insecurity, and 500,000 people facing catastrophic levels of acute food insecurity. What has happened in Gaza over the past 9 months is devastating. The images of dead children and desperate, hungry people fleeing for safety, sometimes displaced for the second, third, or fourth time. We cannot look away in the face of these tragedies. We cannot allow ourselves to become numb to the suffering, and I will not be silent. Thanks to the leadership of our President, Joe Biden, there is a deal on the table for a ceasefire and a hostage deal. And it is important that we recall what the deal involves. The first phase of the deal would bring about a full ceasefire, including a withdrawal of the Israeli military from population centers in Gaza. In the second phase, the Israeli military would withdraw from Gaza entirely, and it would lead to a permanent end to the hostilities. It is time for this war to end, and end in a way where Israel is secure, all the hostages are released, the suffering of Palestinians in Gaza ends, and the Palestinian people can exercise their right to freedom, dignity, and self-determination. There has been hopeful movement in the talks to secure an agreement on this deal. And as I just told Prime Minister Netanyahu, it is time to get this deal done. So to everyone who has been calling for a ceasefire, and to everyone who yearns for peace, I see you and I hear you. Let's get the deal done so we can get a ceasefire to end the war. Let's bring the hostages home, and let's provide much-needed relief to the Palestinian people. And ultimately, I remain committed to a path forward that can lead to a two-state solution. And I know right now it is hard to conceive of that prospect, but a two-state solution is the only path that ensures Israel remains a secure, Jewish, and democratic state, and one that ensures Palestinians can finally realize the freedom, security, and prosperity that they rightly deserve.
National security interests around the world. Senator, thank you for joining us. Please tell us why you support Kamala Harris for president.
Well, Hallie, first of all, thank you and Ron for getting us all together, and we really appreciate the work of the Jewish Democratic Council. And thank you all for being on this call. I served with Kamala Harris in the United States Senate. I know her well. I worked with her on issues concerning foreign policy as well as domestic issues. I've had a chance to work with her very closely as Vice President of the United States. We've been together in foreign policy situations as well as domestic issues. I can tell you firsthand, she has the right values, the experience, the talent. Her record is one that she is by and far the person who should be the next president of the United States. But when you compare her to who she's running against, this is not even a contest. So from the Jewish community, we very strongly believe in values, and we believe that our policies, both domestically and internationally, need to be based upon our democratic values. Kamala Harris is the person who will carry on the great leadership of Joe Biden. I want to give a shout out to Joe Biden. What a class person he is, what an incredible record he has as president. And I do chair the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, and Julie mentioned a lot of the specific issues, so I'm not going to repeat that. I can tell you I meet with our foreign leaders around often, our allies who share our democratic values. And just take a look at what happened this week with the.
I want people to know that now what she's doing is she's running away from Israel. She refuses to go to Bibi Netanyahu is in Washington. She refuses to be there. Even if you're against Israel or you're against the Jewish people, show up and listen to the concept. But she's totally against the Jewish people. And it amazes me how Jewish people will vote for the Democrats when they're being treated so disrespectfully and badly. It amazes me. It's shocking. I don't get it. I don't get it. Kamala even wants to pass laws to outlaw red meat to stop climate change, and she is... You know what that means? That means no more cows. You know, this is serious. No, this means no more cows. I guess eventually she's going to mean no more people, right?
Engage with our allies around the world who would do things to help us in order to get Americans back home. It was a complicated transaction, and Joe Biden repaired the damage done by Donald Trump on our international relations and our coalitions. And Kamala Harris will continue in that tradition, recognizing that America stands globally for democratic values, and we're the leader, and we need strong leadership in the world, and Kamala will provide that. Now, what does that mean for Israel? What does that mean for the Jewish community? Israel needs the United States to be effective in the international community, to have Israel's back. Joe Biden's done that. Kamala Harris will do that. To isolate America is to isolate Israel.
Again, there are far too many civilians who've been killed. I mean, Israel has a right to go after the terrorists that are Hamas. But as I have said many, many times, they also have, I believe, an important responsibility to avoid civilian casualties. Well, look, first and foremost, and the President and I have been working on this around the clock, we need to get the hostages out. We need a hostage deal, and we need a ceasefire. And I can't stress that strongly enough. It needs to get done. The deal needs to get done, and it needs to get done now.
Any reaction to the Trump campaign saying it's been hacked?
Thank you. Thanks.